Everybody, welcome back to another episode of Shifty's 49ers Talk. It's your boy Shifty coming at you with another one. Today, we're going to talk about the three players the 49ers re-signed to one-year deals. Without further ado, the first player that I want to talk about is going to be running back Jeff Wilson Jr. He announced on his Instagram earlier today that he is coming back to the 49ers, and I'm really happy about this move. I think most 49er fans know a little bit about Jeff Wilson Jr. He's had some really big plays for us over his career with the Niners, but let me give you a little bit of a background. So he's 6 foot, 194. He's about 26 years old. He played in 9 games last season, only started 1 or 2. I think he started the Cincinnati game and maybe one other game. Not his best year last year. Had about 300 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, and only a 3.7 rushing average. Although I will give him some credit in the fact that I feel like in a number of games we used him in very short yardage situations where you're hoping to maybe pick up a yard. So those numbers are relatively skewed when you consider the fact that he didn't play the entire season. 2020 was for sure his better year, though. He appeared in 12 games that year, about 600 rushing yards, 7 touchdowns, a 4.8 yards per average, and actually had 3 receiving touchdowns that year too. So overall, when you look at his career, 4.2 yards average, 13 rushing touchdowns, 4 receiving touchdowns. Of course, I think we're all going to remember, I'm going to play the clip when he had that big touchdown in 2019 at home against the Cardinals, passing from Jimmy Garoppolo near the end of the game. Overall, the one issue that really plagued Jeff Wilson Jr. early in his career was fumbling. However, in the last 3 years or so, actually since 2019, 2020, 2021, combined only 3 fumbles, and I believe he recovered one of those, so he's definitely improved there. Overall, I like Jeff Wilson as a player. He's very physical, just a straight line runner, doesn't hesitate for a split second. He will just hit the hole and hit it. So if the blocking is there, he can have some really nice gains. Not the best breaker of tackles, not really like an Elijah Mitchell or so that he'll stiff arm guys or what have you, but he'll just run through guys. Overall, I think he's a great change of pace back and really just solidifies our depth at running back. I believe we would all expect Elijah Mitchell to be our number 1 running back heading into 2022. We have Trey Sermon, last year's 3rd round pick, that we'd like to think should look better at least next season. Then we have Jeff Wilson Jr., and then we have also signed JaMycal Hasty to a 1-year deal. So it really doesn't force us to have to draft a running back this year. I wouldn't be surprised if we take a running back maybe in the 6th or 7th round, or pick up 1 or 2 undrafted guys, because you just never know. But overall, this really allows us to focus on other areas, especially earlier in the draft. I like him as a player, and I like what he gives us in terms of depth. So I'm really happy with this move. Moving to the defensive side of the ball, and the first guy that we brought back today was Jordan Willis, one of the edge rushers from last year. I think we will all remember his massive play in the divisional round at Green Bay on special teams when he blocked the punt. I think not only does this give us depth in terms of our edge players, but also a major focus for John Lynch and company has been improving the special teams, and this is definitely a great move in that direction. Now, let's look at Jordan Willis, maybe a little bit of his background and statistics. So he's 6'4", 270, so really good size, bigger defensive end compared to some of the speed rushers that we have on the team, like an Ebukam, for example. He's about to be 27 years old. Last season, 3 sacks, not great, but remember, he actually was suspended for the first 6 games of the season, I believe. And although you might argue that, he came in with fresh legs, whereas other guys have played 6 games, it can take a while, especially for, positions like edge, where you have to kind of get up to speed. You have to see, get accustomed to playing other NFL offensive tackles, things like that. So overall, I think his season was pretty solid. He really only played about 25% of the defensive snaps in the 10 games that he appeared in last regular season. So it wasn't like he was, a major factor or anything, with the, Arden Key possibly leaving and whatnot. So he may actually see an increase in snaps, although I think his best role on defense is part of that rotation on the defensive line, just as those fresh legs to let Bosa and other guys rest for a few plays here and there. And he's a pretty solid guy. He's very, very athletic. So I think that should his snap count increase a little bit, I think that he actually could see a significant increase in production, although I'm not expecting any kind of like double-digit sack season unless, major players go down hurt. So I think, Willis, kind of like Wilson Jr. at the running back position, I think Willis is a great depth position at the edge rusher position, and of course provides a lot of value in special teams as well. So this is another move where, there's basically no risk and the reward could be pretty darn good, because he's actually never had a full season with San Francisco under the coaching of Chris Kasurik. So maybe with a full off season, with a full 17 game season now, maybe he will surprise us and actually have a big year. Overall, really happy with the move as well. And the last player I'm going to talk about is going to be Dontae Johnson, the guy who, no matter what happens, you can basically count on death, taxes, and Dontae Johnson being re-signed by the 49ers. I love it. I've been seeing that hashtag all over Twitter, and it's hilarious to read. Overall, though, I actually really do like this signing, for a number of reasons, and I'll get into them right now. So, number one, he gives a lot of value on special teams. I believe he played almost 70% of the snaps, special team snaps, in 2021, and he did a good job at that. Of course, we've seen it all along. I'm going to mention it very quickly again. Special teams has been a huge focus, and it's great knowing that going into this season with a new coordinator, with all these additions, that's one phase of the game that we really shouldn't have to worry about at all. Not only not worry about, but should be an absolute strength going into each game every week. The other thing which I like about Dontae Johnson, he's been with the 49ers for a long time, but been in this scheme for a long time. He's very versatile. He can play in the slot, he can play outside, and he had some really big moments last season in 2021. Just look at the divisional game against Green Bay. Ambry Thomas was out for that game. We were all really worried about it. Dontae Johnson filled in admirably for about 55 minutes of that game. The last 5 minutes, I believe he got hurt. He collided with DJ Jones. Then Josh Norman came in, and Josh Norman luckily didn't screw everything up. However, Dontae Johnson, getting back to him, I think it's a great addition. It really just gives us very solid depth at the cornerback position. You're looking at it now. Charvarius Ward, we have Emmanuel Mosley, Ambry Thomas, Diamador Lenore, and Dontae Johnson. We have those 5 guys under contract, and although I would maybe like somewhat more of an addition, whether it's through the draft or maybe another free agent move or a trade, I think if I went into the season with those group of guys, I wouldn't be overly concerned. But overall, look, I love his versatility, love his familiarity with the scheme. Of course, he knows all the other guys, the culture that we're really making here. He's played in big games, so I think it's a great move and it's a no-brainer move. So alrighty guys, so those are the 3 guys that the 49ers brought back today on 1-year deals. Love all the moves, and these are the guys who throughout the course of a season, we're going to rely on them at some point. These are not the headline moves. It's not like I can't believe it, Tyreek Hill traded to the Dolphins, or, Matt Ryan traded to the Colts, or Russell Wilson traded to wherever, Deshaun, it's not the headliner moves. But these are the moves that you have to make in order to have a successful season, so that if one guy goes down hurt, you're not scrambling. And that's what really affected us last season. Jason Verrett went down, Emmanuel Mosley got banged up, and then we're scrambling with Josh Norman and Drake Kirkpatrick, and it was a disaster. We all saw it firsthand. So that's why I love these moves. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think are of these moves. Let me know what you think of my opinions on the moves. And there's going to be some more videos coming out. I've already started watching a lot more videos of like upcoming prospects in the draft. So you stay tuned for that. That's going to be a whole lot of fun. But yeah, beyond that, appreciate you guys watching. I'm going to say 2 things, and that is the butt counts, and I'll catch y'all on the flip side.